Thought I'd talk about a topic that I recorded many times but never uploaded.
Hi everyone. I hope you all have been well since my
Um,
last upload. Today I'm covering a case that
it's a topic about my childhood, like when times were better for me personally, and I'm sure everybody else who's around my age and grew up with either divorced parents or a single mom. Either one of those pretty much guaranteed your life was not as good as everybody else's, at school and stuff like that. Um, so, this topic doesn't really have anything to do with that, though. It's more about stuff that I enjoyed when I was a child. Um, so, when I was probably, I think, maybe like 10, maybe like 8 to 10 years old, I think. Somewhere around there, yeah. There was this game called Killer Instinct, the arcade, and it was basically everywhere around in like 94, 95. It was a fighting game similar to, I guess, Mortal Kombat, except Mortal Kombat was more of a fighting game that was um, more focused on cosplay and stuff like that when it comes to the sprites. This game that I'm talking about, Killer Instinct, was entirely CG and was made by Rare and published by Nintendo. Um, so, Killer Instinct was my favorite game when I was 7 to 10 years old, somewhere around there. And I remember whenever I went out to like a pizza place such as Cece's Pizza or Little Caesars, and the Little Caesars I went to was at a Kmart, um, I would immediately try to find this arcade cabinet, Killer Instinct. I remember as soon as I got in there, always be the first thing I checked after getting the food. It was just always had to make sure it was there. In a way, I was possessive about it. Um, I guess I would compare it to like something like equivalent of like getting excited of like getting a text message from like a girl you really like when you're a teenager. It would be like that level of excitement, and like it was just unmatched, and like this game was just like the coolest thing ever to me because of its style and the music it had and the graphics. Um, I was I was really bad at the game when I was a child. Right now, I still play it on my PC on an emulator. Sometimes, not all the time. I'm just okay at it. I'm not amazing. I can get to Fogor, and then I usually end up losing. I'm not the best at it. Uh, I don't use MAME arcade emulator. I use Ultra 64 emulator. But the version that I usually play is a little bit more buggy than the MAME version. And I just prefer it because it's less of a setup, whereas MAME requires more effort. So I've just kind of stuck with that version over the years, ever since I first found out about it in like 2009 or something like that. Um, so yeah, but going back to the childhood part, um, like I said, I sucked at the game, but that didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was just having that experience. I didn't care if I was bad at it or anything. I remember one time when I was by myself at the mall and Killer Instinct was still there. Like, the mall had a dedicated arcade room filled with, all the other amusements, such as like miniature roller coasters, shoot 'em up gallery games, and other arcades, such as like pinball, bowling, stuff like that. Other stuff that I guess Chuck E. Cheese used to have in the 90s. Um, but yeah, I remember one time when I was in the arcade by myself on the cabinet, Killer Instinct cabinet, and I was there alone. I think my brother was in the room with me, but he was probably playing either Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, because those were his favorites. Um, I was playing as Fulgore this particular time, and I had just like spammed a bunch of buttons on the arcade cabinet console part, and I had done a like 6 or 8 hit combo by accident, just by pure luck, and Fulgore on the screen had just done an uppercut at the end of the combo, and I was like jumping for joy, like screaming to myself, I did it, I did it. I was really excited, looking around, seeing if anybody was watching me for validation and stuff like that. And I was so happy, and it didn't matter that nobody was watching me, and, you know, I was just so incredibly happy that I finally did a combo. And I think up to that point, I had been playing the game for about maybe a little bit less than a year. On and off, of course. I didn't go to like Cece's Pizza or Little Caesars in the mall every day, because my family was very, very strict. Well, my dad was anyway. Like, we had money, but my dad was just like really strict, and he didn't like me wasting my time on video games. He only cared about me getting my grades up, and he was like physically abusive. Just a piece of shit father in general. Um, he didn't care about anything that I wanted, pretty much. But yeah, that was like one of the happiest moments uh, with that game. There was another time where I was at Little Caesars at Kmart, and I remember that the arcade was probably as loud as it could go, so it was like louder than Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 that was next to it at the Kmart Little Caesars, and whatever else arcades were in that smaller room. Because the Kmart Little Caesars had like a really like small or slim rectangular room. I think it had like one of those claw games and a few arcade cabinets, Mortal Kombat 3 and Killer Instinct being in them, and probably House of the Dead, some other arcades that I can't remember. But yeah, I remember that specific time. The arcade, the Killer Instinct arcade, was extremely loud, and I was just having a blast listening to the music. And I was watching my brother play, and he was on the Jago stage, and I was just there, like watching, kind of like watching a movie, I guess. When somebody else plays and you're a kid, and it's just like you just enjoy watching somebody else play the game. Um, and So he was on the Jago stage. Jago's stage is fucking amazing in my opinion. Probably one of the best stages on Killer Instinct Arcade. Close, probably close contender to that being Extender's stage. One of those two are my favorites. Um, so yeah, and I said to my brother, like, isn't this like so fucking awesome, this game? He was just like kind of embarrassed that I was just like being so positive and joyful, and he just basically like told me to shut up because he's a piece of shit. Also, he doesn't understand that somebody else is just enjoying the moment. My brother was the type of person that basically, if you told him that you thought something was cool, he would wait until like a month later until everybody else, got the word of mouth and collectively agreed that it was cool and stuff like that, and then he would say it's cool. And like he was such an NPC in that kind of way. So, and he did this with everything. If I thought something was cool before it was mainstream, like he would just tell me to shut up. And like, I remember this one time we were in his car. The newest Snoop Dogg song at the time was playing. I think it was like 2004, something like that. So yeah, the newest Snoop Dogg track was playing on the radio. It was that whisper song with the something like that. I forget what it's called. Oh yeah, Drop It Like It's Hot. That's what it's called. So that was on the radio, and I was like sort of like dancing in my seat a little bit. Excuse me. So I was like dancing in my seat, and he like basically told me to stop, and then he said, "Just because you think it's cool doesn't mean that it actually is cool. Like this song sucks." And he just told me to stop and stuff like that. Like it was. I think at the time I ignored him, but I also like felt bad inside internally, and just it's like one of those things where if you keep telling a fish that is stupid, it will believe for the rest of its life that it is stupid. Something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but something like that. That's basically what my brother was doing, just reinforcing negativity and making me believe that all of my interests were stupid and everything that I liked to do was stupid. The only thing that mattered to him was like stuff that he liked, such as like Pokemon and I forgot what else he liked, but he was really into cars way more than me. Can't remember really like what else he was into. Oh yeah, he was really into grunge and alternative rock, such as like Korn, Nirvana. But that stuff was already mainstream by that time. So um, he also really liked Eminem. That was also really mainstream. So he was very NPC in that way. So when it came to enjoying media and just being a piece of shit, very oblivion NPC, if you will. Um, so back to the Killer Instinct arcade. I can't remember the last time I saw the game, but I remember that I was really sad when I went to CC's one day and um, it was no longer there. I thought, it's just not the same place anymore without it. And my brother, of course, he just didn't understand. I think he was just like, just shut up, it doesn't matter. That game sucked anyway. Like he had that attitude. And the next big thing in the arcade by the time was Tekken Tag Tournament 2, I think. Maybe this was a little bit later. I'm not really sure. But I remember that being the next big thing. And it was on the second floor of CC's, and uh, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 was still there. And I guess because it was still making money for the CC's place. Whereas Killer Instinct wasn't as much. Killer Instinct was on the first floor. Actually, basement floor below. Because they had like a stair section that would go down lower. And then there was a small arcade section down there. So yeah, and then Tekken Tag Tournament 2 was on the second floor. Stuff like that. And I remember we went up to there, and there was a guy playing on the arcade, and um, he was like, "Yo, PS2 has way better graphics, man." Something like that. Um, and my brother was like, "See, he told you," because he had told me one time like, um, PS2 has way better graphics when it comes to that game. So he's also very NPC in that way. Um, I think after the whole Killer Instinct thing, I was kind of somewhat done with arcades in general. My arcade gaming experience was very short lived, at least from what I remember. So it wasn't long after that until I got a PlayStation for home. Um, I remember I had played, or actually I had a Sega Saturn as well before that. But on PlayStation, I had played Resident Evil 2, and on Sega Saturn, I had played Daytona USA, Virtual Fighter 2, Virtual Cop, some Sonic 3D Blast, I think. Um, I had Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on Sega Saturn. We had a game called Creature Shock. What else? There was some helicopter game that was on Sega Saturn that was like really annoying to play. But yeah, I think after the whole Killer Instinct thing, my arcade experience just kind of like went to hell, went to shit. I think my whole love for the whole arcade scene kind of died when that game left. Killer Instinct 2 had came out shortly after Killer Instinct 1, but it just was never as good in my opinion. Like, it didn't have that same charm to it. It felt like it tried too hard and stuff like that. I remember there was this other pizza place when I was like a teenager that we went to sometimes. I can't remember the name, but it was like not a mainstream pizza place, but it had an arcade. It had like Pilot Wings, Killer Instinct 2, and some others that I can't remember. But Killer Instinct 2 was like boring, in my opinion. Like, it just didn't have the same feeling. Yeah, I don't know. It was just not the same. Like, when all the characters did all the spins after like an attack or a combo being hit and stuff, like, I thought it was overdoing it, and yeah, I don't know. Just didn't feel the same. The music wasn't as good, except for like a few stages, but that's it. I think TJ Combos and Orchid's stage was pretty much the only good tracks that I liked. And yeah, but Killer Instinct 1 had everything good. Like, all the music was good. Um, but yeah, that's the story pretty much. Um, about something that I just like really enjoyed from my childhood. So yeah, thanks for listening. See ya.